Talk about a man that does not have a vision.
Men don't have movement. And it's like, yo, you don't see what I'm doing? You don't see what I got going on? Like, are you moving in the right direction? Because you got movement doesn't mean you got growth. Don't be so prideful that you won't get the help that you need. And then you wind up in a relationship that you can't enjoy, your wife can't enjoy, your kids can't enjoy, just because you didn't come up with the mission as a man.
You're a business consultant. You guys, your wife and yourself have a group called Lovepreneurs, which is what I'm repping right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's good on you too.
I appreciate that. And so what does that look like? Because one of the main questions guys reach out to me about, how do you get your wife to be on the same page?
Oh, man, that's such a powerful question. And we get this quite often, right? It's super important to, identify why your wife is in your life. So many men, like, prior to having a wife, you were looking for somebody, you were lonely. You knew all the reasons why you wanted a helpmate, right? Someone, a companion. You knew all the reasons why. And then the moment you got them, and, after a few years, you wind up denying the help that you said you wanted. So it's identifying why you originally wanted a helpmate and a companion in your life. And then as a coach, as a leader, like, this is one of the craziest parts about relationships. If you do not have any leadership in you, it's going to be hard to really make it through a relationship.
Let's dive into that, because I feel like we got to define leadership, right? We got to define leadership and understand that there's a difference between leadership and management.
Oh, for sure.
I did not know that until I started entrepreneurship and realized that I wasn't the best manager, but I was a good leader.
Absolutely.
Like, I had no idea. What is leadership in the home?
Okay, let's use this analogy, right? Because I'm a visual person. I love painting pictures. The GPS in your phone is leadership. It takes you from where you are to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Now, a part of leadership is being a visionary too, because you have to have the vision as well of where we're going and being able to communicate and explain the vision. Like, so many men are like going through different things in a relationship that they really don't have to, due to the lack of properly communicating what the vision is and then explaining how we're going to get there. Now, granted, if you take a trip right now with your wife, most likely, and I know this is not in every home, but I'll say in mine and maybe yours, right? If I say, hey, babe, we're going to take a road trip from where we live in Miami to Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
This is where we're going to go. This is exactly where we need to go in. I may not give every single detail like my wife would want. My wife would want all the details. Well, what time are we going to arrive? What are we, what is day one going to look like, day two? All that stuff, I may have to say, hey, babe, I'm going to get back to you on all that detail. I just want to let you know right now that this is where we're going. In the meantime, by the time I circle back to that conversation with her, she's going to already know, all right, what clothes got to be packed, what snacks is going in the bags. Like, we're going on a road trip, right? Now, I'm going to worry about how we getting there, what we riding in, make sure it got gas and everything like that. That's my department. Her department is going to be the fulfillment of everything. If the kids are going or not, do they need a baby? Do we need to leave them with someone, or are they coming with us? Like, help me.
Yeah.
But as a leader, I have to be the one to say, we're going to Atlanta, not, hey, we're going on a road trip.
What is that?
Okay.
Where are we going?
Where are we going? And so that description, that level of detail that most women need is where the argument turns in, because you're asking me questions that I can't answer, but I'm not letting you know, hey, give me 3 or 4 hours to give you this information. I just want to let you know the main framework right now is that we're going from here to here on this date.
Bro, you've said so much. Like, breaking down all of the things that you just said is pretty necessary, and things that I've learned, a lot of them I learned from you. Let's start with the vision. Yeah. Knowing, hey, we're going to Atlanta. Because I heard Grant Cardone post something on his reels recently where he's telling Elena, he's like, yo, I told my wife that she's not going to keep me back from my dream.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And somebody sent it to me, And they're like, well, what's your take on that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I absolutely agree.
1,000%.
And here's the thing. This is prior to marriage.
Mm-hmm.
He had a conversation, but the main thing is he had a vision.
Absolutely.
He had a vision, and now it's a matter of, do you align with my vision? Because this is where we're going.
Yep.
And so that's the GPS, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the destination. Talk about a man that does not have a vision and now wants a woman to follow.
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the biggest topics out right now is the submission thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that men and women both struggle with. But men, as the leader, as the visionary, doesn't understand why a lot of these women have problems with submitting. It's the submission, right? If there's no mission, there's nothing for her to submit to.
Right.
And then you wanna wonder why she's asking you so many questions.
Yeah.
You have to have a mission as a man to lead your family on.
Wow.
And so many men are struggling with that. It's like, if you're struggling with it, definitely get the right help. Tap into the right networks, as Kes does with men. Like, don't be so prideful that you won't get the help that you need, and then you wind up in a relationship that you can't enjoy, your wife can't enjoy, your kids can't enjoy, just because you didn't come up with the mission as a man.
And that's where it starts.
That's where it starts.
That's where it starts. And so you have two type of guys. You have a guy that is already married that's listening to this and may not have a mission, is having a difficult time getting his wife on the same page. And guys, you're stuck. It is what it is. You're already married. And so there are things that you got to do to get your wife on the same page. That's somebody that the other guy who's dating and is having some issues getting this person to be on the same page. Yeah. The advice that you have for each guy, I imagine, would be different. What would that be?
Okay.
Hey guys, I hope you're getting incredible value from this podcast. Now, don't forget to subscribe, like this page, but also follow our Instagram page for a lot more gems. No, like seriously, go in the description below and do it now. Now back to this episode.
So for the one that's already married, ASAP, you need to call Kes. Point blank period. You need to get with Kes ASAP. Look at the last 3 years, like, and obviously it depends on how long you've been in a relationship, right? But history doesn't lie, people do. If you've been in a relationship for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, just look at the history and the track record. Identify what most of your problems were, most of your arguments were, what really like gets on your nerves about your woman, and then turn the mirror to yourself and identify where you had faults in it. So now you can decide what you're going to get a different result. We all understand that you have to be willing to do something different. That part, bro. Men, are you willing to actually look in the mirror? Oh, yeah. Because it's easy to put the blame on her. I did it. She this, she that. She always nagging. She always got something to say. She always got an ignorant response. It's like, bro, you understand that women are here to nurture? They were born. Their birthright by God was to be nurturers. And if you don't give a woman something to nurture, you're going to get something from her, and most likely it'll be what you don't want. Yeah. See, and that reflection piece is difficult for most men. Oh, yeah. I realize, because I've been divorced, right? And then I was engaged and got my ring back. That didn't work out. And then I got remarried. And I started to hear a lot of the similar things from the previous relationships. And it took that for me to be like, hold on, bro. Yeah. I'm getting the same feedback. Pull that mirror out. I had to pull the mirror out, because before I was arrogant. It was just like, I'm the man, right? This is how things go. Yeah. But I'm like, I was so committed to making my marriage work this time around. I remember stopping my business. I stopped everything. And I went all in, got off of social media for 2.5 years to just be like, what needs to happen, God? And I really went to God, and I started looking internally to become that leader, to really go internal. Now, there's a difference between leading and controlling. Oh, yeah. Because I've heard you're being controlling. How do you separate the both? That's such a good question. You got to first understand, again, it's always back to the basics. You can always identify things if you are willing to go back to the basics of how things started. Why did you originally bring your woman in? What was your point of having her with you?
Yeah.
Right? Identifying as a coach, as a leader, as a visionary, you have to be able to identify the gifts and talents of your team.
But let's, because I know most men, the reason they bought their woman in was because the sex was good.
Okay. That right? That can very well be. But even in that situation, once you said I do to it,
yeah,
you're committed to it.
Yeah, now you stuck.
You're locked in, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell anybody to be in a unfulfilling or unhappy marriage. Like that's not the thing. But we have some tools in place to help mitigate that, right? To help you get back on the track. But for a man that's dealing with that, you gotta, again, it's the me work before I even bring it to her. Yeah. What do I need to identify about me that I need to change first before I even bring anything to the table for her?
Yeah.
That's the first step. I promise you, if you really spend some time with you, right? In the Bible, when Jesus really had to make decisions about things, how often do you hear him say he went to the mountaintop? He didn't go to the mountaintop just because it was a pretty place to be. He had to go away and deal with him and be with the Father. That part right there, men really, if they, like, because men will have movement. And it's like, yo, you don't see what I'm doing? You don't see what I got going on? Like, but are you moving in the right direction?
Do you think men are just, because we keep ourselves busy?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And like you said.
And a lot of times that busy is to keep their mind off of what they really need to deal with.
That part. Yeah.
That's a big problem. Like, yeah, I see you busy, bro, but what the results look like?
Right.
What the result? I spoke to a guy yesterday. He was asking me questions that he needs to do with his business. And he's like, no, the business is growing. I was like, well, show me the numbers. He's like, well, we doing? I'm like, no, show me the numbers. Because you got movement doesn't mean you got growth. And as men, we have to be able to, like, what you don't measure, you can't manage.
You can't. And I ask guys that question. What's the goals with the marriage, right? We talk about goals with the business, but then I'm like, what's your goals with your marriage? And they're stuck. Like, it's hard to answer that question because, first of all, there's no real vision. Yeah. It's like,
it's just movement.
It's just movement, right? We're good. We're cool. I'm like, great. What's the goal? What's the vision?
I got another analogy for my men that's listening around right now, right? Remember back in the day, you might have had a homie that call you and be like, hey, man, I'm going to come grab you. We're going to take a ride. Yeah. Right? Let's say it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Cool. I'll be there about 12. All right, cool. If he call you and just say, hey, I'll call you, we're going to take a ride, you might not be as motivated, right, to get up and make sure by 12 o'clock you outside ready for him to pick you up, right? Yeah. But if he call you and say, hey, bro, yo, I got to play. We're going to make 50,000 real quick. I'll be at your house at 11:30. Be ready. Is it fair to say that your motivation towards that is going to be different?
100%.
And so that's the difference that's going on in a lot of homes. As a man, you just like, hey, babe, we going to, just take this ride with me. Yes. No details. No, what's the benefit of it? Like, what do I need to do to be involved in it? Like, what's my position? None of that. It's just like, hey, babe, just take this ride. Just trust me. Like, bro, what is she trusting?
Yeah. Where we going?
Where we going?
What we doing?
You can't, just because you got GPS in your phone, you can't say, yo, take me on a ride. It's not going to respond back to you. And neither is your woman. Like, you got to put in a destination for the coordinates to start connecting. And it's the same thing in a woman's mind. Yeah. They're wired that way. Just like we wired a certain way, you and I could probably give each other a little eye contact and kind of know what that means as men. Yeah. But to a woman, they want details, bro. Like, what's happening right now? Do we need to leave? Like, 100%. Is there something going on? I need to know. Like, they need that level of detail. They're wired that way. Yeah. And so for a lot of men that's struggling with your woman, I guarantee you a lot of it is your fault due to the lack of properly communicating, due to the lack of having a vision and having a mission that you want her to submit to.
Bro, that communication piece, right? Because you said it a few times and I was going to get to it. So after you say, hey, this is the vision, and she want details. Yep. right? It's a piece of leadership, but it's really the communication part of leadership, because something key you said was, give me a few hours, let me get that together and come back to you.
Absolutely.
I used to think that was you questioning my authority. I used to, that's how I used to lean into it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you asking me so many questions? Why is that necessary?
It's so necessary because they have to prepare to be a helpmate, right? They are here to be helpmates.
Yeah.
But they need to know what they're helping.
Right.
So they could then create the framework of how they're going to help.
Yeah.
But if you're giving them subpar details about it, it's going to frustrate them. So what you're hearing is not them like mad at you. It's them frustrated that they don't have enough details to support the very thing of why you wanted to help me.
See, bro, and I think this goes back to understanding the purpose of a wife.
Yeah.
And the purpose of a helpmate. Because where the purpose isn't understood, abuse is inevitable.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And because you don't know how to use this thing. And so the questions that's coming from her isn't to question your authority.
It's not to hurt you, it's to help you.
It's to help. And I had to learn that.
Yep.
But it took me understanding, what does help from this person? What is her purpose? And if it's to help me, I gotta allow her to help me.
Here's another piece that a lot of men and women kind of get this messed up, right? You also need to know what help and support means to you and also means to your partner.
Yeah.
And be able to communicate it. Like, this is a hack I'm going to give real quick, right? Is it cool to get this hack?
Let's give it.
I'm going to give y'all this hack. A lot of people focus on couples counseling. One of the smartest things you guys can do is get a class together on effective communication. You can have all the back end stuff dialed in, but if you don't know how to communicate it on the front end, you're going to be in the same situation.
Same situation. And effective. That's the key word here for
effective
me.
Communication.
Effective. Because,
not just communication.
Yeah.
Effective communication.
Because you could say the same words to somebody else and it means something else than what it means for your wife.
Sure.
And one of the things that I used to do was to think, well, Jillian, Jane, all these other people that I done dated, they never had the same response.
Yep.
Right? And so now I'm comparing my wife to other people. And
I'm
like,
fire inside of her is like, whoosh. Bro. You just compared me to another woman? And you're like, I'm just trying to give an analogy.
Yeah.
Whoosh.
And that don't
all right,
work.
go to the next level.
Don't do that, guys.
Do not.
Don't do that. But you think internally that everyone else gets it besides you.
Yeah.
And so I had to legit scrap my understanding that I had from other women and start over and be like, I need to learn you. And so I tell my wife all the time, I will always remain a student of you.
That's it.
Because how I used to do things before, it don't work here.
You know what's crazy? And I'm going to say this like in all transparency. Like, one thing about me, and Keston knows this, I don't mind sharing my personal experiences, right? Because I feel like that's, as a coach, as a mentor, that's the only thing that really solidifies really who you are, right?
100%.
By being willing to talk about your experience.
You gotta share it.
My wife and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago. Forgot what we were talking about, and just out of nowhere, I was just like, I love you, and her response was, "Show me." Now, in that moment, just and I want to give some context. Like, my wife and I are in a great spot. We've been doing this with couples for years. Like, we're in a different place than the average couple,
for sure.
Right? So, for me, I know that wasn't like her saying I don't love her. To me, that registered as a shift happened. The way and the level that I loved her at prior to this season may no longer be effective. There may be something new I need to do, something I need to add on, or something that I need to hiding. Or, and again, turning the mirror to myself, these are my thoughts after hearing it. I didn't snap on her. What do you mean? You know what I do? I do this, and that's the average thing a man would go to. Like, me love you, like, show me you love me. Like, you know what I do? I handle this. that don't mean nothing to her right now. Let me check me first, because it's either a shift that's happening and her desire and needs for love from me looks different now in this season, or am I slacking in this season more than I normally am?
Right.
So am I creating a void for her in terms of love? Because she already knows what love looks like.
Mm-hmm.
We're beyond that point. She knows what my love for her looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm slacking, or if I need to make adjustments in this season, that's what I want to catch, not catch feelings and emotions, which a lot of men do.
How do you take something like that? Because like you said, most men would take that and that's an argument. That's a blow up. You're disrespectful. I do all of this. Look at all that I'm doing. You're ungrateful. Like I've used those words before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you take that in as a man and process and go in the mirror? Where did you get that skill from?
So it's actually in a book that I'm writing. I don't want to give too much out. Because this idea is so dope that somebody would definitely take it and steal it. So I gotta finish it first. We'll talk about it privately, and then I'll come back on and talk about it when I'm ready to release it. But I'm big on the mirror, bro. Mm-hmm. Just making sure that before I go to somebody else, that I could look at the mirror myself first.
Yeah.
And so that's just the way I'm wired at this point. And again, working with so many couples that we have over the years, we know what turns into arguments. We don't have to guess it. Like when you're first starting out in your relationship, you gotta like really assess, like, all right, what turns into an argument? I'm not going there. We're beyond that.
But that's bro, you have such a high emotional control.
That's facts.
Right? You have such high emotional control, and I think it's important for men to realize that that's where the spirituality comes from, even in earning more.
For sure.
Right? So in your marriage, but also in earning more, because you have a somebody that's working for you. Do something stupid and you trip out, right? And so now everybody is like, "Oh my God, my boss! Like, I'm afraid to work here, right?"
Yeah.
Instead of having a graceful response, but you still deal with the matter.
Yep.
And so in different situations, because I've seen you and I've been around you enough to know that you have a very high emotional control.
1,000%.
How do you work on that?
So here's the thing. And I speak a lot on leadership. Like, it's so important to understand that a leadership as a leader in your home, like, and I'm gonna say home because wife, kids, whoever lives in your home, and also in business, anything that goes wrong, it's on you first. And so I already know that. So if something's wrong in my relationship, it's on me first. I gotta check my boxes first before I go to anybody else. And so by the time I check my boxes, my emotions are already in check before I speak to somebody else about it. So the same thing happened when it comes to my wife. Like if there's something missing or broken, I got a question like, okay, did I do this? Did I do that? Am I lacking here? Am I like, what should training, should that department have gotten training this month? Did we not get them the proper training they needed in this department this month? Like, you got to check as a leader before you go and point the finger.
Yeah,
you got to do a self-evaluation to see where you might have dropped the ball first.
Yeah, and
then even if you did identify the areas you dropped the ball, now you just got more things to train on for the people that follow you. We are the leaders.
Yeah,
leaders, followers. Our tribe, our family is following where we lead them.
Yeah,
and if I say, take this ride with me, and there's something in the road, and there's a flat tire happens, I can't expect my whole family to get out and change the tire.
Yeah, yeah.
That's on me.
Yep.
Y'all relax. Something I got to AAA, whatever I got to do. That's for me to figure out as a leader.
Sure. Yeah.
Because y'all didn't ask to take this trip. I asked y'all to take this trip with me.
Man, what we're talking about, I feel like is advanced. right? There's some, and I feel like we're continuing a conversation from how we know each other and stuff like that. Let's take it back to someone who you just married, dating, or whatever. You have a Latino wife.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Shout out to D.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's my baby. I love you, girl.
Right? Spicy.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Sure.
How were you able to lead her to get her on the same page? Because y'all do business, have several businesses now together. Sure. What was that transition like? How did you have to grow as a leader? So
when we first started out, and I thank you for that, going back to the beginning. When we first got started out, like, I was strong-willed and strong-powered. She was too. So it was like a train wreck.
Yeah.
It was like two trains playing chicken every day. Boom, boom, boom. The difference was that I was already an entrepreneur. She was 9 to 5, came from corporate. So again, me coming from the streets, me coming from hustler's mentality, like all that, I'm making money, but then you got misorganized corporate that worked a job trying to come tell me now how to be an entrepreneur.
I'm sure a lot of men can relate to that.
Yeah, y'all feel me, fellas? Like, don't leave me by myself on this,
Right.
And so what I had to realize, and I didn't at that point, I was like, we need help. We need to get this figured out, because, like, this ain't going to work if it continues like this. And it really matters who you go to for coaching and also counseling, because if you have entrepreneurship involved in your situation, you can't just go to any counselor for that. Just because somebody does relationship and marriage counseling, they're not going to understand the problems of entrepreneurship if they're not entrepreneurs.
That's why we came to you guys.
For sure.
Right? Because we had other counselors and coaches that we outgrew, because we realized that the advice that we was getting didn't fit what we do. And so it's like this 9 to 5 lifestyle type of advice.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, man of God, I respect you, but like you just don't understand what I'm going through, right? So continue on.
And so that's super important. There wasn't much of that out there when we started out. So we were like, all right, we got to be sacrificial lambs here. We got to literally be able to lay our lives on the line right now to figure this out for all the couples that will follow us.
Yeah.
And so we start just doing research. We start studying it. We start getting intentional about presenting it to God. Like, God, this is something that we feel like you're allowing us to go through because you're calling us to fill this space. We want to do it right and represent you well. So we need your help. We need your wisdom. When there is no wisdom out on it, we need yours.
Yeah.
And so he just started beginning to deal with us and getting us in the right rooms and being able to hear something that doesn't 100% speak to it. But because we were so intentional about making this happen, we were able to turn it into what we needed to for this, right?
Yeah.
For couples that have business and relationship, because it was a struggle. And then not having social media, like YouTube wasn't like that back when we started. So a lot of the things you have access to now didn't have back then. And so we were intentional about making this thing work. And I'll tell you another thing that is super powerful as a man. The moment you give yourself options, you give yourself a way out.
Jeez. Talk about that a little bit. Like,
man, it's so powerful.
Oh my God.
Especially for, like, again, putting myself on a chopping block, right?
Yeah.
Prior to being married, you know, I was in the streets. So, like, when it came to women,
he was a counselor.
I was a counselor. You know what I'm saying? I helped quite a few people out, you know what I mean, over my time. So I realized, like, if I'm going to do this and do this with my wife, like, I realized, like, the more options I have, the easier it is for me to go to, like, I don't got to deal with this. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, for this relationship, that's not what I want. So I had to literally expire all other options.
Bro, so Tinder, all these other apps that like, I'm dating a few people.
For sure.
You're saying that it's one and done.
Got to cut it.
Gotta cut it.
And even as you're growing in your relationship, like, even if you are a man that is a one-woman man or whatever the case may be, the way to keep it that way is to not allow options to come onto the table. Because the moment that options come on the table and you having a bad argument with your lady or this or that, and it's like, all right, I'm out. I know where I could go.
Yeah.
Not have to deal with this. Like that right there will hurt and cripple everything. So you got to be strong enough and wise enough. Like, keep options off the table. And another thing, like how options can come on the table and it's not even intentional, is you being in the wrong environments with the wrong people. Like, it was in 1 year, I was invited to go to like a bachelor trip, like with the boys, overseas somewhere. And I was like, no, I can't go. Like, I'm not about to mess up what I got going on. You know, us as men, we visual, like, we're going to keep it real. Like, we visual, like, we see something, we like it, we ready to go buy it.
Right.
Well, I don't even want to go to the lot.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to that lot to even put myself in position to have to make that decision.
Bro, I don't think men has this level of discipline.
Yeah.
This is a level of discipline that I think people look at me like I'm crazy, or they say I'm trying too much and all that type of stuff, because I tell men, I'm like, hey, I don't even follow my ex. I don't wish them happy birthday. None of that. Because that opens doors.
Yeah.
Because let's say you, depending on the day, you wish them happy birthday, you wish them happy new year, any one of those things, right? And then you have a memory of the last time y'all were together in that time, and it either brings you...
It'll pop up when you're arguing with your lady.
There you go. There you go. And
let me check on...
Exactly. And so now, all of a sudden... You may be upset, sour. Sometimes you don't even know why you're upset because you done forgot why this emotion is happening to you. And the reason why is because you opened that door.
Oh, yeah.
And so having the discipline to say, I am not going to Vegas. Although, bro, I love you, but because, and you should acknowledge who you were. And so for me, I stay away because of who I were.
For sure.
I'm like, nah, bro. We here at a business event. Yeah, that could be some great networking. But I'm that alcoholic that needs to stay away for a bit.
Absolutely, man. At the end of the day, like, let's just be transparent here.
Yeah.
Who's the most powerful person to use demons? The devil.
Yeah.
The devil knows
where
your demons lie. You know what I'm saying? Knows your weaknesses, right? So for me, it's like, I ain't gonna sit here and say I'm the strongest man on the planet. Nah. I'm just wise enough at this point to know what I stay away from. I gotta stay away from that. I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm not gonna put myself in that position. Cool. I love you. You my man. Love you to death. Y'all enjoy yourself. Hey, the next one, I'm there.
Yeah.
But it won't be that situation, right? Like, I'm cool with a guy's trip, but if I know for sure the intent is to turn all the way up before it go down, nah, bro, I'm not going. Call me what you want. Call me a punk. All that. At the end of the day, my home is peaceful. Are we human? Do we have disagreements and everything like everybody else? 100%. I ain't sitting here as a perfect man, perfect husband, perfect businessman. None of that.
Yeah.
I go through my trials and tribulations just like everybody else that's watching this. I've just grown enough to know. And I know you want to go back to the beginning. So I want to make sure we go back there. But as you evolve, for some of the guys that are at the beginning, I wish I had someone to tell me this kind of stuff.
That's why you're doing this
back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So our journey, circling back to the beginning, our journey was a lot of headbanging, but we were mission based and very intentional. That's another piece with men. That you got to be intentional about what you do and what you spend your time doing. We were intentional about growing this thing and us growing ourselves. Like, we ain't want to be fake. We want to be phony. Like, we ain't into that. So if we're going to do this thing, we got to be committed to our own relationship to position ourselves to help others out. And so that was kind of like our journey. We were probably more intentional about making sure our marriage worked than the average person married because of the mission that God placed before us to do.
Bro, and so people, I hope you see that it starts with the vision and then the intent. And then when you have that vision, that purpose, it tells you what to say no to.
Oh, yeah.
And when you know what to say no to and you have that intention, then you could grow this thing called marriage and actually have a near blissful marriage, right? And so how do you guys deal with kids and that type of thing? And because one of the things that you guys do really well, and you've said it in some of your stories, is roles. Did you guys like sit down and define roles, or it's one of the lovepreneur commandments?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Definitely.
Like, let's
Know your role.
talk about that.
Yeah, that's super important. Again, as a leader and identifying the players on your team, you need to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. But you also need to know, again, what the mission is to understand what positions are necessary for the mission, right?
Yeah.
So in our house right now, my wife, myself, I have an 8-year-old son, which is with me now, making sure he get all this game. That's super important for some of you fathers that don't have your kids involved in some of the things you're into. Like you're really like starving your kid right now. I'm not saying starving from like eating and things like that, but you're starving the mind of them growing and developing into the man that they need to under your leadership. It's super important to expose your children, especially my fathers and the boys, exposing them to the business that you do. My son goes to real estate closings with me. He go to meetings with me. We're here at a podcast now. He's over there doing work right now. But just getting this in his mind, I don't want to wait till my kid is 18, 19 years old for them to understand real estate, understand business, to understand love itself, right? I want them to be as prepared as possible. And so for our home, our kids are unschooled.
I was going to ask you to talk about that because y'all have chosen as entrepreneurs with businesses that y'all are running to school your kids at home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you crazy? Like, talk about that.
Hey, you got to be crazy to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, my gosh,
you got to be crazy to be in a relationship and run business. So, yes, we are all the way crazy.
100%.
We are the craziest people you're going to meet.
Talk to us. Talk to us about how you navigate that and make it
so
work.
that all came out, and it's just crazy how God works, right? So my daughter went to regular school for a year. And that year, my wife and I decided to take our children to Dubai. So we were taking our children to Dubai for 9 days. In the school that my daughter was in, it's a school that they're real serious about everything, right? So
first of all, they're taking their kids to Dubai.
Oh, like, yeah. Gotta show them the world.
Anyways, like, I'm just saying, bro. Yeah. Like, go ahead.
So, us being the type of people we are, we reached out to the principal. Like, it wasn't even about talking to the teacher. We went straight to the principal to let them know, like, the kids are going to be absent. Well, my daughter's going to be absent for 9 days. We're going to Dubai. And so the principal said no, she couldn't go. It's like, she what? No, she can't go. Like, she's going to mess up our ratings. Like, you know, we're very high in our network on attendance. So it's like things that they go by. It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but she is going. So let me just let you know, if there's any way you want to structure her work or give work in advance, we'll make sure it gets done, even though she's on vacation. And we can structure the trip around work as well. So she was just like playing out like, no, that's the decision y'all make. I can't tell y'all not to make the decision, but I'm saying, no, it's not acceptable here. So I said, okay, well, we're going. And we'll just deal with what we have to on the way back. But on that trip, my wife and I just, like, it bothered me as a leader, as a visionary for my home. It bothered me, the fact that I gave anybody that type of control over my children and not to be exposed to a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, cool. We really not going to do this. I don't want to be disrespectful to somebody else's system, right? But I don't want to be in anybody else's system, and I don't want my children in it either. So we went on that trip. We wound up staying longer than the 9 days. Like, again, having that freedom and flexibility was super important to me. And so I had a conversation with my wife, like, well, we're going to do homeschooling. My son wasn't in school yet. He was in our daycare center, because we have daycare centers as well. He was in our daycare center, but he wasn't in school yet. And I'm like, I'm not going to have this with him either. So just do the homeschooling thing. So we did the homeschooling thing, which was cool. Once we moved to Miami, and we got them in like a hybrid program where it was like, if you're home, because we travel so much, if you're home, they can come in. There's a place they can go in. It's probably about 12 kids that they were in a classroom. And then when we travel, or if they didn't want to come in that day, they could do the work at home. So that kind of worked out. That was cool. But even that, I'm like, it's still under somebody else's system. And I had like an aha moment, like, and this is no disrespect to any teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers are necessary, they're needed. But for me, in my position, the way I'm wired, I'm like, if I allow my kids to be under somebody else's leadership and jurisdiction for the next 12 years of their life, do they have the capacity for my kids to be at least 7 and 8 figure earners? That was an aha moment for me. I'm like, if they stay in school from K to 12 and still won't have what they need to be at least a 7-figure earner, I'm doing my kids a disjustice.
Bro, I've never looked at it that way. I have never looked at it that way.
So it's like, even with the homeschooling, that was still somebody else's system. Same thing. They couldn't teach them to be 7-figure earners. So I'm like, cool. My wife started doing research, because as we're having a conversation, my wife, she moved. She's not waiting. So she doing research. Like, we talking. She's like, all right, well, we're going to do a unschooling then, where they're not even in anybody else's system. They're under our jurisdiction. There's things that we got to submit to the state and things like that, but we create pretty much their curriculum. And the whole curriculum is based on entrepreneurship. They have a schedule like college kids at this point, at 8 and 11, where the courses that they're taking are, a class could be at 2 in the afternoon. A class could be at 9 in the morning. Like, these courses are like designed with everything on the entrepreneurship. And so under our nonprofit, we have a nonprofit. Again, I just want to make sure everybody understands that I've been literally in entrepreneurship for 21 years.
Yeah.
So you may hear me say the different things we have. Yeah. This is not like 3 years.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these newer entrepreneurs, they got their hands in.
It's not COVID. COVID. This is not a COVID entrepreneur, y'all.
This is all stuff that has been built over 2 decades, right? And so our entrepreneurship program, we have an entrepreneurship program under our nonprofit, Hemio, where we teach high school students entrepreneurship. So that's a program that's in place. So my goal is to make it where it's K through 12. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want the principles and systems of entrepreneurship to be passed down to your child, and you may not have the capacity to do it, because it's a grace that honestly God has put on our lives.
That's amazing.
And that started 2001. We opened our first family daycare center.
That's amazing.
So teaching and all that is kind of a grace that's been on our lives.
Yeah.
Which is why we can do it with our kids. But it's really about having a system. And so effective communication is one of my kids' classes, or courses, as they say. Proper negotiating and things like that. Like, they're learning real business stuff. So they have their own stuff, and then the stuff that we teach them as well. So they're getting it from every angle. They're traveling with me. They're seeing me do business.
Yeah.
We're going to different places throughout the world to get them to identify entrepreneurship, but also how to connect cultures with it, in different cultures, not just your own. That's another problem in entrepreneurship. People get into entrepreneurship and only worry about your culture. You need to learn other cultures in order for expansion to happen, to understand how to expand.
Bro, here's why I love this so much, man, because we could say we're too busy right now.
Yeah.
But then if we're too busy right now, it's gonna cost us later on.
Oh yeah, you're gonna pay.
You're gonna pay. It's either upfront with time, commitment, and dedication, or later on. And you guys are committed to this idea and this thing now, and I think that's really inspiring, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's making me think right now, because there are things that makes me be like my son, honestly, bro, he tells me all the time, he's like, I don't like school.
Yeah.
He is an entrepreneur in and out.
Sure.
And the truth is, I teach him as much as I can, and I'm a virtual dad, because my son lives in New York with his mom. I'm over here in Georgia. And I don't have that curriculum to help him be who he could be to the fullest. And so I teach him little things. We bought him a property, and so the income that comes into that, I help him like how to break money up and save and this and that, and that's cool. That's cute.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better than what I got. But you talking about some next level stuff right here, bro.
Oh yeah, man. Like, I want them to be powerful. Now, here's another piece that's so important for some of you that may have younger kids. One of the things my wife and I discuss, and obviously a lot of it comes from dealing with kids so long before we even had our own kids. Independency. It's something that we taught our children way early. So for some people that are like, homeschooling, like I couldn't even imagine what that looks like. But at the end of the day, it's important, like for y'all to have young kids, teach them independency now. Like when it comes down to tying a shoe, let me show you how to tie your own shoe. And then the next time you ask me to tie your shoe, I'm going to say, no, you tie your shoe. And don't you move from that place until that shoe is tied.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to play your game? Cool. You gotta that shoe gotta get tied first, right? So you connect your system of how you teach independence to your child through what they like.
Why I think that is so good is because these are the things that most entrepreneurs or people that's getting started suffer with. They have these not imposter syndrome, but they talk about motivation and lacking motivation and all of that. And I could see why when you're independent, you do these things just because that's how you're wired. Absolutely. Versus looking for somebody to coach you on certain things. You should be getting coached on something else at that point in your life. And bro, that's amazing, man. And
that's what it is with them, bro.
Holy moly.
Like literally, I'm confident to say today with an 8-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter that if my children had to be by themselves for an entire month, they could 100% take care of themselves.
Wow.
Eat, sleep, clean, wash, pay a bill, go to the store, buy groceries. Like at 8 and 11 right now, I'm confident to say my children, I could be on the other side of the world and have no worries that my kids wouldn't be able to function on their own. Now, safety and all that, that's different. They're still kids. But without a safety issue, 100% my kids can fully function for a whole month on their own. And that's because of sowing the seeds of independency early. Yeah. Like there's so many powerful seeds that have been birthed that have never grown because of the soil that they were nurtured in.
That's so good, bro. That's so good. So final topic before we wrap up.
Yes, sir.
Which one do I choose? I got some.
Hey, man, I'm like a Swiss Army knife at this point. Let's go.
All right. Let's dive into intimacy in the marriage. Y'all do business together, your wife and yourself. How does that affect or heighten intimacy?
That's a great question. Again, that starts, and I know we don't have enough time to really go deep in this, but that starts with the word intimacy. Intimacy. And you have to be intimate with yourself to understand how to be intimate properly with someone else. Wow. And so many couples deal with this, right? And again, it's always easy to throw the rock on the other side. But it's like, if you're not one with yourself, how you expect somebody else to know how to be one with you? Yeah. Like how do you go and say, hey, you should know what I want and what I like when you don't even know what you want and you like.
Bro, that's so good, bro.
So that's the start of that. And then like pre-framing, pre-working things, like it may be a day I might get on FaceTime with my wife and I'm flirting from the door. Like I'm starting the whole process of what's going to happen at night earlier in the day. Yeah. Make it fun. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's high paced. It's high stress. It's all that that comes with entrepreneurship. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I know for me as a man, I need that. So I ain't going to put it all on you to figure it out. I'm going to start the game early. Like, can I start this game early? Yeah. Let me read the directions here. Does this game start earlier? Like,
but as a leader, you have figured out the things that would start the game early.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? You're not just showing up talking about the game has started.
I need to know the cheat codes. I want to know that by the time I get here, boom, I could kaboom. Like I need the cheat sheet.
Bro, I wish men would figure this out or take the time to be a student of their partner.
Oh, for sure.
Because this week I spent maybe $13. I went to I'm like, you know what? I have a session that's about to start in probably 40 minutes. But my wife, she's been working really hard. She's working really hard. And I said, you know what? Let me I went to one of those grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me go pick up a quick flowers, bro.
I did the same thing this week.
Yo.
This week I did the same
Legit.
thing.
I picked up a $13 flower, bro. It came with a vase and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's cute, nice. Came back home, bought it home, and I wrote on it, I see you, Kes.
Bro, I lie to you not. If you were to call my wife right now, tell her to read the card that I gave her with them flowers, that is part of what I said in it as well.
Bro, and what that $13 did for me,
yes,
is more than anything else.
Yes.
And it's just because you starting the pregame.
Gotta start the pregame, bro.
Right? Like,
start the pregame, fellas.
It starts before. It starts before, and the appreciation, the love, the everything that came out of that, the support.
The knowing your partner's love language.
Oh, man, bro.
That's a whole nother session.
Whole
like,
nother one.
You gotta know your partner's love language. Because here's the thing, so many men, and I know, I ain't even gotta ask you. I've been doing this long enough. I know some of y'all dealing with this at home. Your partner, you feeling unappreciated. You feeling like you're not appreciated for the stuff you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is because you don't know your partner's love language. 1,000%. So you can be doing 1,000 things, going 1,000 miles an hour that you feel like as a partner, you need to do for your partner for them to have their love cup full.
Yeah.
And it's not even doing nothing. Jeez. All because you didn't take a moment to really identify and understand their love language. Yeah. And vice versa. Once you find out what the love language is and you start building on that, you have a lot more peace and happiness within your home.
Jesus, bro. We got to get you back because I feel like there's still.
Oh my God, we didn't even get started. To be
all
honest,
these questions I haven't even gotten to them that I have written down, and because I like to have natural conversations. Sure. And bro, you've helped me out in my marriage so much. It's one of the reasons that we joined Lovepreneurs, because we needed that guidance from people who have done it and had our same beliefs as Christians and that type of thing. And you guys have helped brought us back, right? Like almost immediately. We got an argument yesterday or things that we can't figure out. Yep. Y'all like, this is how you should look at it. Yep. And I appreciate both you and Diani so much, bro.
I appreciate you for that, but I got to be honest with you. What makes that easier, and I'm not just saying this because you here and this is your podcast. What makes that easier working with y'all listen. And y'all put it to work. Like, y'all not ones that hear information and be like, ooh, like, you get some people, it's like, oh man, that bar right there, that was hot. No, did you catch what was inside the bar though? Like, you could see a bar sitting on the shelf, but if you don't know the ingredients in it or know if that's going to work for your situation, that bar is no good for you. So it's like meal prepping. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know the information that's going to work for y'all, and y'all actually stay consistent with the information. 100%. So that's what makes it easier. And then I even say, even on your coaching, like I pay attention to you. You have the gift of patience. That's something that we both share. And it's so necessary as a leader, as a partner in a relationship, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, especially when y'all, like for those that have businesses with teams, it's important to have a certain level of emotional intelligence and control and a level of patience. Understanding that it's a process to everything. And even when you're in a process and things feel like it's getting shaken up, there's a reason for that shaking. You got to be diligent and patient enough to not be emotionally unbalanced and start going into panic mode, and then everybody else follows suit and go in panic mode. You got to be patient enough and have enough emotional intelligence and control to, okay, this is something screaming to us that we have to fix. Yeah. Let's fix that. Bro, and move forward.
Appreciate you so much, man. The next show, we gonna have both of our wives on it.
Let's get it.
I feel like that would be, y'all want that in the man cave, the man cave talk.
Let's get it.
All right, man. TMCT crew, I appreciate you guys. This was another episode. I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this. How could people reach out to you? Because you're a business coach. You guys do Lovepreneurs. Like just share your info real quick.
Easiest way, it's IG. Just send me a DM and just say that you came through Keston's platform. That's Meet the Emperor on IG, MEET, the Emperor, and we could connect from there.
Absolutely. And we're going to have everything in the description as to how you guys could reach out. If this is the type of leadership that you want in your life to make things work, like how you see it works for my wife and I, like you should tap in. Like straight up, this has saved my marriage time and time again. And it's made us move a lot faster to where we are today. So appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace. My man. Thank you, bro.
So much info. Yeah. It's like